If you're looking to update your audio system or get a new sound system in your church, have you thought about whether you should prioritize spoken word or worship? Well, that's a consideration. We're here at Gateway Church in the Dallas-Fort Worth area with Will Martin. Will, you are the big boss man around here, or what's your actual title?
No, I am the AVL Systems Director.
Okay, so you direct audio-video lighting systems here at Gateway and across your campuses. Do you guys have an opinion on whether you prioritize spoken word or worship? Have you had this conversation or debate before?
Yes, I think every church has had this debate. I think at the core foundation, leadership drives that, and that can sway as leadership changes, or we've had that conversation. Past leadership drove designs of spoken word as king, and then most recent, it feels like the church, right? As generations have changed and the push of more worship leans towards music is, I wouldn't say king, but is the primary focus. And so I think there's a middle ground that we have to accomplish, because our congregation needs to have a great experience on the worship and spoken word. I don't think either outweigh.
Yeah, and I think there are listeners out there viewing this and they're firmly in one camp or the other. They didn't even know there was another camp. They're thinking, of course the spoken word is priority, or of course worship is priority. But you're saying at Gateway, you've actually been on, like, you've had both camps here. It's been a struggle over the years.
Yeah, definitely. I would say main broadcast room, acoustics aren't actually great for live worship. That plays in to every design.
Yeah.
And so we all forget about that.
Yeah.
I think when budget comes, we forget, or don't forget, but we push to the side. PA design to leadership and focus, and honestly, the quality of how you mix and what presidents is in front.
Where do you even start with this conversation of which one wins?
I think ultimately that's the issue, is we ask who's going to win. And I think leadership should drive that. We shouldn't ever go against our leadership. We submit to leadership, but we should also push into leadership as equal. And so if it's like, hey, message is only king, depends on what denomination you're at, the feel of leadership, because there are some that it actually fits well, and that's the focus.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think if you don't line up with your leadership, then should you be there? At the end of every conversation, it should always, hey, we align with each other, we're for each other, we're for supporting the vision of this church, let's run.
Yeah.
And so leadership drives that, then that can actually help with the design of PAs, ear selection. And I think also don't landlock yourself. Don't only design a PA that's, hey, speech is only. It's like, no, the experience of the room is the best, right? Some rooms would require a mono system. I don't love that. Our congregation needs the best experience possible, spoken and worship.
Yeah.
And so we've fought that battle. The creative worship side would be like, no, worship. And so it's like, no, we are a marriage. We come together, and holistically, is it a great experience? Then our congregation, our members can actually experience and have a distraction-free service.
Yeah.
Then it's a win.
We're going to assume that leadership has thoughtfully sought on what the right direction is. And then, did you ever read Choose Your Own Adventure books growing up? Do you remember those? Okay, so we're going to play Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yeah.
We're going to say Church A has decided we're going to prioritize the spoken word. Not that they're going to say worship isn't a priority at all,
Right.
but we're going to veer that way. Let's start with the room. What are some, room principles as far as acoustics that help or hinder in a spoken word, and how a pastor actually experiences it, and then how people out there experience it?
Yeah, I would say on the technical side, acoustics do play in how lively the room is. And I think it goes by, some leaders will have an opinion. I think some just don't even know until they know, because there are some that are overly live. And so it actually is a distraction, reverbs to decay. Like, it's just chaos in a room. It's too lively.
Yeah.
For those that are portable churches in a school cafeteria or in the gymnasium, you understand that very much. And that will drive it to then it's like, hey, is it just dead? It is just absorbs where I talk and I feel like I'm in a vacuum. That can actually suck the energy out of your pastor when he preaches. And so I think it's that well balance of educating and also just go and observe other places that you're like, I really like this. I like the feel, I like the look, but I also like the liveliness of as I preach or as I speak, and test it with a mic, like talk and just feel how it feels to you.
Yeah. If you're balancing the room, you got the audience out here, they're trying to understand the pastor. So you probably need some room absorption. So it's not a super live room, but then pastor is on stage and he's trying to be fueled by the energy of the room. So then you don't want it too dead out there. So there's some response coming back. Is it a tricky marriage to blend those two?
We're at the mercy of a congregation, right? We have wedges to help give some clarity back to him for sibilance. Be careful though. Pushing wedges, it could be ugly on stage if you have floor wedges, but you can also really cause feedback. I think it's that finding a happy median of livelihood and like the live of a room, it feels good, but also I can hear and feel like I'm supported.
Yeah. Talking about actual like system, are there speakers that are more designed for spoken word versus music? Is that an actual thing?
There are some in that aspect, but I think it depends on the desire and culture that you have as a church. Some are strictly spoken word and no instruments. Most of us aren't in that camp.
Yeah.
But I think it goes by, at the end of the day, a good marriage with an integrator or someone educating us. And hey, your acoustics are going to be like this. This is how your room will respond when you design a new room. Ask for an ease plot. Show where you have hot spots in your room. It actually educates. For us, we actually have a plot for our congregation. Like, hey, here's some loud spots as well. And then we also have areas that are quieter that educates our people so that they have a good experience for worship and preaching.
Let's go to Church B. We're moving to this adventure now. We're prioritizing worship. Okay, so how might the room acoustics be a little different in that regard?
I would say they focus more on the studio feel of, okay, on stage, what's absorbing? Like Bethel. Bethel actually has a phenomenal room that translates really well for them. They did it in-house. They studied, they tested, they did a lot, and they have a write-up on that. But I think it just translates their vision, really, because their vision has been worship for so long, and they still have teaching, but worship drives a lot of that. And so it does feel different. Like you can walk in, you're like, oh, it kind of sucks a little, not life out of you, but the air. It feels, and so it's not as, I don't know, welcoming, I think, for the people that aren't used to it. I think you have to drive your system around that. So if it's, hey, worship's our focus, right? We're going to have a different stage feel. You need to be aware your room's going to feel different, but also consider like how you deploy your PA. And so if you don't have the right education in that, find someone that can.
Let's take an example of a church that exists a lot. My church was built in the 1950s, and the room was designed for choir and organ and the spoken word just to be acoustically shared. And so there's a lot of reflections in my room. Now, we still do some choir and orchestra, but we also bring a band in, and now our pastor preaches on a microphone. We have a sound system. Like, this is a little bit of a perfect storm for a church. How would you approach some of the realities of that with either acoustics or system design, and maybe even things like venue flex or a Meyer constellation system? I know now we're getting to things that watchers are like, what now?
The acoustics is the foundation that we all forget about because it's something that isn't a new tool, right?
Yeah.
A new toy, new gear, but it actually will help you at the end of the day because a big expensive PA won't fix the acoustic abnormalities and issues you have in a room.
Probably make it worse.
It makes it worse. And also I think a lot of guys forget your noise level. Some rooms you can't push as hard because you're going to cause more issues. And I think a lot of guys might have issues with that. sometimes of like, I really want it to feel like this. And it's like, you can't in this room. You just can't. You know your limits.
Yeah.
I think that's where people, I guess, get in a deep hole that's hard to climb out of sometimes, is if you don't know your limits in the room, your gear, you can bury yourself.
Yeah.
For me, it used to be gear. But at the end of the day, after buying like really good gear, it doesn't actually help you.
Yeah.
Gear can only get you so far, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have tires on your car,
Yeah.
you're not going to drive anywhere.
Yeah. If you're driving a Hyundai or a Ferrari, either one on a bumpy road, it's still going to be bumpy.
Exactly. And so acoustics, I think, is the number 2 we always forget about.
For our watchers out there, there are unique ways to do this where, let's say you have a live room and you have all these different varieties of things you're trying to make fit in this live room. You can put in acoustics. So now you can understand the live or the spoken word, and a band will translate in that room, but then all of a sudden your choir and orchestra has lost life. But there are new technologies where you can put room back into your room, digital recreations through things like Venue Flex or Meyer Constellation.
Yeah.
Again, once you get the vision down, we got to move on to acoustics.
Yeah.
You can't jump straight to gear. So if you're trying to fight this battle, prioritize spoken word versus worship, there actually is a happy balance to be found. It just might not be found in the gear you're thinking of. You got to get the foundations right. Hey, thanks so much for watching that video. We know how difficult it is to keep Sundays running at your church, and we know a lot of it is about the gear. So we want to give you an exclusive 5% additional off anything, even if we're running a sale. Additional 5% off, grab the code in the video description below.